Ripple XRP, so the Federal Reserve could potentially be causing the collapse with this US debt. We're going to take a look at some of the numbers that we have. So we could potentially see these bombshells coming soon. Also, we will be having a look at the US household debt as well, as it has increased. And Ripple has been named as one of the top protocols that we have in a recent paper. And we're going to have a look at how crypto and CBDCs use less energy than, of course, other digital assets like Bitcoin, as well as the price action of XRP coin today. So all I ask from you are two things, which is to smash that like button and to subscribe to the channel as well. So big things coming out from the Federal Reserve. I mean, we all pretty much know by now that the debt is not sustainable and that the US is in pretty big trouble. So from Wall Street Silver, we have over here that in this video, he says, we're getting to the point now where the interest expense on the debt is so high that it's going to eat up our ability to basically serve the next generation. So we're not even talking about the current generation as of now and how we will be able to finance that, but also the next generation. And it's going to be a big problem because this roughly means in around about the next 20 years or so. You'll see over here that by 2027, the interest expense alone on the debt eats all healthcare spending. And this is a huge problem, of course, when it comes to the healthcare industry. And by 2047, it eats all discretionary spending. Now, this is a big problem because how are we going to solve this? Does that mean that we now have to reduce the amount of spending? And so, of course, you could turn to, for example, things like with your military budgets. I mean, what we're seeing right now overseas in the Middle East, as well as what is happening with Russia, we have possibly spent quite a lot more than we actually should have done in order to support with that. And also, it's only going to be increasing with the spending as we see more of that happening, because the conflict is going to be continuing and it will be lasting for quite some time. Again, this is very worrisome and it is quite concerning. And so it really looks like as if we are getting into quite a lot of trouble. And I've mentioned before that the Federal Reserve balance sheet has been increased by roughly around about $5 trillion. I think for the US debt clock, we're currently roughly around about $34 trillion. And I think per taxpayer, this amounts to approximately $200,000. Also, talking about the debt, if we have a look at the co-BSC letter, the total US household debt is rising by $212 billion in Q4 of 2023 to a new record of $17.5 trillion. These numbers are just staggering. And the breakdown of each of these, we have the mortgage debt of $112 billion to $12.25 trillion. Auto loans at $12 billion to $1.61 trillion, student loans at $2 billion to $1.6 trillion, and credit card debt to $50 billion to $1.13 trillion. And total household debt in the US is now up 23% in only 3 years and rising rapidly. We are fighting inflation with debt. How can this end well? I mean, it really is going to be a spiral, right? Because we're going to be in that cycle where we essentially take on more debt, pay for these things, and then use that debt to then pay it again. And so it seems like as if it's going to be never ending. And the only thing that's going to happen is it will be increasing. And the problem again with the mortgage debt, you know, we've seen interest rates come to a high, so it's difficult now. We have student loans. That has always been a pretty big issue. And credit cards, I mean, how many people are actually taking out credit cards now with like 20, 30 or even 40k limits, and then, for example, going on these big vacations or actually just leasing these cars, things that they don't even need, right? So credit cards I always try to stay away from. Well, you can get a credit card, but make sure that you always pay it off and don't be dependent on it. And so these are the numbers in terms of the debt. For the ISO GOAT, we have over here that in the 2024 Global Protocol Reports highlights, we have Ripple as one of the top protocols in the world. I actually did cover this in one of my previous videos where I showed all the information that they had about Ripple, but this goes to show that we have this example being included within here. It also shows the characteristics as well as the technicals, which is relevant information because we can see the benefits of the transaction fee being so low, as well as the finality time and also the capacity, so that's the transactions per second, and a bit more about Ripple as well that it contains. But it says that it aims to transform the way money is moved around the world, making financial transactions more inclusive, transparent, and accessible. And in order to make those payments seamless, right, we want to minimize the amount of failed transactions and make sure that we are able to be efficient with those payments. That's pretty good stuff for Ripple. We have over here from the ISO Go again how crypto and CBDCs can use less energy. So of course, energy consumption is one of our main priorities when it comes to payments. So some payment systems are energy intensive, but some specific design choices can be much more efficient alternatives. And if we have a look at this diagram, you'll see over here that with the proof of work, for example, with your Bitcoin, we pretty much have it at 1,000. And just remember that this is per transaction, whereas with credit cards, we have 0.001. 0.01, and without the proof of work we have this range from the 0.01 nearing all the way to 0.quadruple01, and with permissions we have even lower than that as well. This is provided by the IMF, and it goes to show that with the most efficient and cheapest form of the crypto assets is without the proof of work and with permissions. It definitely isn't with the proof of work. That is pretty much an old way. So we have over here that some central banks are considering whether CBDCs should be accessible through physical cards like credit cards, but cards can help adoption and inclusion, particularly when digital literacy or mobile connectivity are a concern, and more energy efficient options that are permissioned and don't rely on proof of work mechanisms. So of course it'll be interesting to see where we have that CBDC integration and with the cards. From Jack the Rippler, we have Jerome Powell talking about the new settlement system. He says over here, we're also investing heavily right now in building a new settlement system for instant payments in the US.
We're also, as you know, investing heavily right now in building a new settlement system for instant payments in the U.S. It'll be the first such major expansion of our core payment system since the 1970s. We found the case for this quite compelling for consumers, businesses, and just ensuring that all financial institutions have access to the payment system.
And I think what he's talking about in here is referencing to their new service, which is called FedNow, and that is their instant payments. So you'll see over here that it is 24/7. That's what they're currently working on, and they're basically seeing how easy it is in terms of the accessibility for their customers. And of course, there can be some sort of partners, for example, like Ripple, maybe as a potential to work with the FedNow, but we don't yet have that. We just have the FedNow for the instant payments. Before we have a look at price action for XRP coin today, we have over here from Cyprus Demanico, the front page of the Australian newspaper, and that crypto goes mainstream. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that we actually saw crypto going somewhat maybe mainstream or getting more hype back in 2021, I would say, maybe even 2020. I think they were probably really good years. I mean, it was kind of like the pump years, wasn't it, really? A bit of a gold rush there with crypto. You could basically put your money in quite a few cryptos and make quite a lot back. And so I think that cryptocurrency is becoming more and more mainstream. We have 8.1 billion people worldwide and only 450 million active users in crypto. We are still early. I mean, I understand what you're saying, only 450 million in terms of active users. However, I still think it is quite a lot. I mean, that's just under a billion people that actually use crypto and that will be trading it. But it does definitely look like as if we are on an upward trend. So for the price action for XRP coin today, we are currently trading at 0.5024. We are down by 0.4% on the one-day chart. For the volume, we are high today. We are up by 11.51%. And we are trading at $885 million. So if you have a look in the early hours of the morning, we were trading at 0.0504. We're pretty much just on that mark of the 50 cents. And on the 7-day chart, we are down by 0.72%. So on the 1st of February, as you'll see over here, we were trading at 0.4932. On the 2nd of February at 0.5039, and then on the 3rd of February at 0.5198. We've pretty much just been bouncing back from that 49-cent mark to 51 cents. We haven't been able to hit the 53-cent mark. I mean, on the 1 month chart, we are down by 9.92%, and the last time that we were able to go to 53 cents was on the 30th of January, where we hit 0.5365. Now, from where we are right now, it's basically a 3-cent move to get to the 53 cents. I mean, the overall volume in the market is up by 5.93%, and we have a volume of 45 billion. Pretty much for the past month, we have had a lot of price stagnation and a lot of red that we've been seeing for XRP. I definitely want to see more price action now, but it still seems like as if we could potentially see more price pressure. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do retrace to 48 cents. Guys, if you want daily Ripple XRP coin news, subscribe to the channel and like the video as well.